y'all know the drill. We always got to start this out with a good one. Helps my aging brain cells. Alright. My buddy Gary over at Tremis Dynamics penned a really good article that I felt was good enough to make a video and talk about. He was talking about charging handles and the trend and fad and craze of having not only the biggest, most largest, most giganticest charging handles ever on an AR, but also having the big, ginormous giganticness on both sides of the charging handle. It's like a thing that everybody says you have to have. I mentioned in some videos quite a few years back that at one point in time on all my ARs I had large charging handle latches. Mine weren't ambidextrous, but they were overcompensated on one side because I was doing a lot of static square range training years back. And once I came back to my senses and remembered, oh crap, I got to change this, and then did change it. When I got back to actually doing non-static square range stuff and more actual real world oriented stuff, and revamping my own practice regimen and training to reflect that not only did those charging handles on my AR not give me any kind of significant noticeable advantage, they were in some ways actually a detriment. Right? So we got two things going on here. We got the big oversized thing and we got the ambidextrous thing. I'll touch on both, right? And this is Gary's article was kind of more on the ambidextrous thing, but again I'll touch on both. So one of the things that I noticed and I got away from is I took all the large charging handle latches off of every single one of my ARs and I went back to a standard regular GI charging handle. You see that? That's what all of my ARs now sport, with the exception of one. I only have one that still has a slightly larger aftermarket charging handle on. That's because it's a very specific reason, and it has a lot to do with the particular optic setup that's on that gun. So, for this, we're just talking about a regular general purpose gun, right? So, what I found with my large, ginormous, extended charging handles was that when I got out and actually started moving around in the woods, around the yard, around the house, whatever, I'm not walking around all the time like this. Most of the time, I'm walking around like this because it's a thing. And what was happening was that big old gigantic charging handle sticking out would get caught on my gear and would do two things. The first thing it would do would be to, only much louder because it was much larger, and it made a lovely clicking and snapping noise, which in nice quiet woods or any quiet environment traveled for a freaking light year, it felt like. I felt like people on the other side of the earth could hear it. It was so loud. The second thing it did, even worse than that, was it would get caught moving around because I'm not just walking. There's things I have to push out of the way and go under and around and all that kind of good stuff. It would get caught and actually move the charging handle just enough that with a loaded magazine in there, it could induce a malfunction via the next round in the magazine. and you'd never know it until you brought the gun up and you got a dead trigger, which could very quickly and easily lead to not only a dead trigger, but a dead you. I don't know about you, but that's kind of the thing I'm trying to avoid. Just me. Maybe I'm weird that way. So, that's why I got rid of all of them. But Gary brings up a really good point about the ambidextrous ones. All right? Now, let me stop right there before anybody has a conniption fit. Y'all know the drill. You do you. You do whatever makes you happy. I'm just offering you some food for thought, just like Gary's offering you some food for thought with his little article on his blog, which I'll put a link to in the description box. You can go read for yourself. I'm not telling you you got to do this. I'm not telling you you got to agree with me. I'm not telling you you got to like it. Not telling you it's right, wrong, or anything else. I'm just telling you what I'm doing and why. And what a whole lot of other folks that I know, many of whom have got a whole heck of a lot more experience than I do, many of them on a two-way range many times over. I'm just reiterating what they're saying and doing that reflect my own experiences and validate my own position, right? Again, you do you. What Gary's talking about is the ambidextrous ones, when you got another hard handle on both sides right here. The idea is so that you can grab it with either hand if you need to, or if you're, for a right-handed person, I'm going to grab it on this side and charge it. For a wrong-handed person, left-handed person, they would want to grab it on this side. As Gary rightly points out in the article, even if you are on this side, you shouldn't be trying to clear a malfunction, which is primarily the way you'd be wanting to do this, like this. You want to do this. Well, if I rotate it so that gravity is going to help pull out whatever's in the way, guess what's pointing up at me and not underneath it where I can't see it? This. So I can grab it and do that. Or there's really no reason why you shouldn't just grab it with both. It doesn't matter which hand you use. Even if I'm doing it this way, I'm doing it this way. There's really no reason. Not only will the standard charging handle let you accomplish that, especially if you do what one thing, you practice a lot. That's what's going to make the difference. Not adding the fancy doodads, but the practice and the repetitions. If you put a lot of those in, then it's not going to matter how I do it. It's also not going to matter how big that is. And I know all the arguments under stress and all this other kind of stuff, hitting that little latch right there, which is why I always do it. I always do two fingers. Always. I can't really tell you a time when I'm going to do just the one-sided thing. I'm always, even when I'm just charging it up to get it ready to go, bang, magazine in, both fingers rather. So that's my personal reasoning as to why I like a standard charging handle. That standard charging handle also is a lot less apt to get hung on my gear, as I previously stated, because it's much lower profile. And lower profile in this case is a good thing. I think Gary brings up a really good point that sometimes people get all too easily swayed by the latest marketing techniques of companies to get you to buy the newest, latest, and greatest, gadget or doodad to put on your gun, when oftentimes you would be better served by leaving the gun like it is, going and paying the money that you would have otherwise spend it on good relevant training, and then do a lot of practice, And that's going to eliminate the concerns and the problems that you're supposedly supposed to be having and why you need the other doodad or gadget. That's not the case for everything. There are times things are an improvement, but a lot of times the cost to benefit ratio is not what it's oftentimes made out to be, right? Be careful how you spend your money. Be careful how easily you parted from your money you are based on what the latest and greatest person's trying to sell you. Because what I'm about to say is probably going to trigger somebody. This is not an all-inclusive statement. Not everybody is doing this, but there are some people who will try to convince you that you need something, and based on their notoriety, background, fame, whatever, can throw out an argument that easily convinces you that because they're recommending it, you should have it. There are some that do it that are doing it just to help sell something. It's not necessarily something that they truly and completely believe in. Again, not everybody, not saying everybody, just keep that in mind. And I'm not saying it makes them bad people. I'm all about free market and capitalism. All I'm saying is for you, just think really hard, be very objective of why you're getting something, why you're changing something, and is it something that is really going to benefit you? If it is, then do it, right? Absolutely do it. Weigh everything out, see what works for you. Don't write off keeping her simple though, and just throwing in a lot of training and practice. Sometimes that is the answer, all right? As a wise man once said, that's all I got to say about that. You guys take care. Get trained and go practice. Drink coffee because it's good for you and it's proof God loves you. And not only does He love you, but He wants you to be happy. Y'all stay safe. I'll see you in another one.